What's up guys, this is just another Proxydo back again with another YouTube video. So this time I'm gonna show you how to install Mac OS X Sierra on your Skylake based PC. So what you will need is a computer running Mac OS. It can be an original Apple computer or a Hackintosh, a USB flash drive 8 GB or larger, multi-beast, unibeast and Clover configurator. So when you have all of these things, you need to go to the Mac App Store and get Mac OS X Sierra. So you can simply do that by typing in OS X in the App Store and Mac OS Sierra will pop up. So just click download and wait for the downloading to finish. Then when it finishes downloading, you will need to go to TonyMacX86.com and get Unibeast 7. So now take your USB flash drive and plug it into the USB port. I suggest plugging it into the USB 2.0 port. And now when you have plugged it in, go to disk utility. You can do that by typing in disk utility in search or going to Launchpad, other, and opening disk utility. So in disk utility, select your USB flash drive, hit erase, name it whichever you want, and make sure that the format is set to OS X Extended Journal. Then hit erase, and when it finishes erasing, go open Unibeast, click continue, agree, then select your USB flash drive, then select Mac OS Sierra, select UEFI boot mode, and here I'm gonna select inject NVIDIA because I have an NVIDIA GTX 960. So if you have an ATI card, go select inject ATI. So then click continue and wait until Unibeast finishes creating our bootable USB flash drive. Now when Unibeast finishes creating your bootable USB flash drive, a folder will pop up and you can simply close it, then close Unibeast and reboot your computer. Now what you will need to do is go to the BIOS settings. For me to get into the BIOS, I have to hit the delete key, but if you don't know what key you need to use, you can simply Google it. So when I got into the BIOS, I loaded optimized defaults, then I went and made sure that the Sierra mode is set to AHCI mode, then I made sure that XHCI handoff is enabled, then also if you have a serial port, disable it, because then if you have it enabled you won't be able to boot into macOS. Then make sure that Intel VTD tag is disabled and CFG lock is disabled too. Then you can basically save it and reboot your computer. So now when you reboot your computer, you will need to get into the boot menu. For me it's the F11 key, and again, if you don't know what key it is for you, you can simply Google it. But now since I'm in the boot menu, I'm gonna select to boot from my USB flash drive, but not the regular boot option. I'm gonna select the UEFI boot option. So now you will get into the bootloader, and what you will need to do is go to the options and type in these boot flags. So dart equals 0, then nv underscore disable equals 1, and mpci equals 0x2000. Also go to graphics injection menu and make sure that inject NVIDIA is selected. Then hit return and boot, and then select boot Mac OS from your USB flash drive. So this will take some time, and Then when you get into the installer, click continue, continue, agree. And now when you have to select the hard drive, you won't see your partition because it isn't formatted yet. So go to utilities, disk utility, and select the partition you want to install macOS on. So I'm gonna select the Macintosh partition, click erase, make sure that it is set to OS X extended journal. So then click erase and then wait until it finishes. Now when you have your partition, you can close disk utility and you will go back to the installation disk selection. So now select your partition that you have formatted and click continue, and macOS Sierra will install on that selected partition. So this process will take about 20 minutes. Now when the installer finishes, your computer will reboot and you again will need to go into your boot menu and boot from your UEFI flash drive. Again, type in the same boot flags: dart equals 0, nv underscore disable equals 1, and mpci equals 0x2000. Make sure that inject NVIDIA is selected, and now don't boot macOS from your USB. Select to boot macOS from your hard drive. So for me it's boot macOS from Macintosh. So click on that and wait a couple of minutes until macOS X boots. So now when macOS will finish booting, you will get to this screen. So I'm gonna select United States, then click continue, continue, continue. I won't sign in into my Apple ID. Basically just set up your OS X. So when you finish setting up your Mac, you will get to the desktop and you can congratulate yourself because you have a fully working Hackintosh. Well, not yet, because it's not fully usable. So what you will need to do now is go to Tony Mac x86 and download MultiBeast Sierra Edition. While we are at it, I'm gonna go and download Clover Configurator and NVIDIA web drivers. All the links will be in the description box down below. So now I'm gonna open MultiBeast and I'm gonna select UEFI boot mode, and now you will have to select the drivers that you will need because it depends on your hardware. So here are the drivers that I selected. Now make sure that it is set to Clover UEFI bootloader. Then go to the Customize tab and click on System Definitions and make sure that it is set to iMac 14.2, because what I found is that this system definition works perfectly with my hardware. So I'm gonna select it, then click build and simply install all of the drivers. While MultiBeast is installing, we can open our web drivers. So remember that when you finish installing the web drivers, you will have to reboot your computer, but don't do that, because when it finishes installing, we're gonna have to open Clover Configurator. So here you can see that MultiBeast and the NVIDIA web drivers finish installing, so we can close MultiBeast and we can minimize the NVIDIA WebDrivers tab. Then go open Clover Configurator and click Mount EFI Partition. So if you don't know what your EFI partition is, click Check Partition, and here is my hard drive. So my EFI partition is disk 0S1. So I'm gonna click Mount EFI partition and select disk 0S1. So now the EFI partition is mounted, but you can't see it on the desktop. So what you will need to do is go to Finder Preferences and select to display hard drives. So now all of the partitions should appear, and here is our EFI partition. So I'm gonna open it and go to EFI, Clover, and open the Clover config plist. And here you can see all of the options that I have selected. So you can pause the video and you can basically copy it, but here you have to select all of the options that you need. Again, I'm telling you that it depends on your hardware. Now when you have selected all of the options that you need, just simply save the config plist, and now we can reboot the computer, and this time take the USB flash drive out because it should boot without it. Okay, so I ran into a problem. My computer didn't boot without the flash drive. So what I did is I went to the internet and got Clover EFI bootloader, and I simply installed it. And then my computer booted without any problems from my hard drive. So now when it boots, you will get to your login screen, so just log in and bam, you have a fully working Hackintosh computer running macOS Sierra. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I hope that I've helped you. Leave a like, subscribe to my channel, visit Tony Mac X86, and until next time.